let's see how we go. We haven't had an email from our Texan yet.
They'll be asleep.
Yeah.
Is it 6 hours difference?
Could be. Hello and welcome to episode 4 of I'm Fine, a chat between myself, Damo, and Human Resources Master of Science, Mark.
Not sure it was a Master of Science.
MSc?
No.
What is it? I thought a Master's was an MA.
A Master's is a Master's, isn't it? Is it? I
So
don't know if
you're
it's of
just
arts or science.
A
I think
Human
it's just
Resource
Masters.
Master?
Yeah, I think so. Because you
Okay.
get Masters in like business, don't you? It's like an MBA.
Yeah, but you have, what's your letters then? After
I've
your
never
name?
picked up the certificates. I don't know.
Okay, what, you didn't go to the
No,
ceremony?
I didn't go to my degree graduation or my Master's graduation.
All right, just,
I'm an anarchist. I don't wear capes and silly hats for anybody.
no.
I
Superhero.
was too busy. Yeah, I was too busy listening to punk in the park and drinking rough cider.
Fair
I don't know. I didn't go to either, but no, I don't think it is a Master of Science. I'll look it up because
Okay.
It'd be good to know, wouldn't it, if I apply for any
Yeah,
jobs?
I'm not. I mean, the job offers have been flooding in since you mentioned that. This is a chat around the subjects of health, wealth, well-being, fitness, sports, conspiracy, and fridge mate. I've just repeated the same as last week. That's just absolutely
okay.
rubbish. In short, it's a poke at our imperfectly imperfect lives. And if we can make just one person feel like they're not alone in all this madness, then our work here is done. Coming up. Now we're experts in podcasting. I think we should just drop that section.
I think so.
I think everyone's got the fact that we've mastered
Yeah,
it.
and if they want to do it, they can go and do it now.
Yeah, it's all there for anyone to start their own. So we're going to talk about something else that I haven't got written down there. But work-life ballet, we're going to look at a little bit of imposter syndrome, and Drop and Give Me 20 will be about food judgment.
It's a food special, isn't it?
Oh, is it? I didn't announce that.
Yeah, we said last time it's going to be a food
Someone
special.
did.
Could you maybe
I haven't made it very special.
No, but you could maybe do start having some sound effects.
That was some of the feedback, and I didn't want to bring it up because I knew you think it'd be a good idea. I'm not work shy.
No.
I'm not averse to
No.
going and doing that, but opening up the music chat and then certainly sound
Sound effects
design
on
on
food
this.
special. I think it would sell. I think more people would be interested if you had a.
What food? Glorious food is the obvious one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to get into licensing then, and it's a lot of paperwork for me. I'm a busy man.
I'll tell you what is interesting, talking about licensing.
You've just done the interesting. This better be interesting.
This is interesting. Yeah, I've done the interesting, isn't it? This is interesting.
Interestingly,
You referenced my mushroom growing again in the last episode. When you and I were involved in that, if you remember, we did, well, you weren't involved with it, but you would have seen it, the Mushroom Redemption. I don't know it's called Mushroom Redemption, but it was. It's on YouTube. I'll give you the link.
so
You must have seen
I am
it.
looking at you blankly.
You've never
trying
seen
to-
the video?
I
So
don't
it's a
want the
video
redemption.
of basically what we did and how we grew the mushrooms.
Yes,
we
I
got
did, yeah.
open access to Dartmoor
It was in the
Prison.
redemption. Okay, right.
I think it was
the
called Mushroom Redemption.
Sorry, yes. with you.
And the music for that, which is really catchy, was used for Tesco's for their like Christmas advert.
Okay.
And we paid 25 quid for it. And I just thought that person probably only got 25 quid from Tesco's.
Oh, very likely. Pennies.
And loads of people have used it on the adverts, and it's
Pennies.
really good music. So maybe we could use that little bit of music, bearing in mind I've bought whatever I bought on it.
Did you buy lifetime global usage?
No, but I wouldn't
Didn't sound
mind
like you
paying
did
them
for
25 quid again, because if Tesco's only paid them 25 quid, I don't mind them getting a bit more money.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about all the podcasts you've been listening to. I've been flicking around just seeing how people, do it. And lots of them do open up with music, which is okay. But then are we into the, some of them are quite long as well. Some are like 20, 30 seconds of music. It's like, okay, yeah, I get the...
Yeah, because we're so tight on time, aren't we? We wouldn't want to drift
waste
over
it. I mean,
20 seconds of pure gold being lost listening to...
Exactly. And then are we into then the, between sections of putting the old, almost like Hollyoaks.
Is that Hollyoaks?
I don't know. I'm sure they do that.
Yeah.
Some podcasts do that.
I love the way that you actually did a guitar in front of
did
me.
It was almost a bit of slap guitar. I had my thumb out.
Okay.
Which is,
Twanging.
very
Like the guy from Level 42 with the very high up
Mark
bass.
King.
Yeah.
Anyway. So how are you? All right?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very good. And yourself, he asked quickly.
I'm still buzzing.
Good.
Funny that.
It is funny. Maybe I should ask you first next time.
Yeah, I've got to write that down though.
Yeah, if you can for
I literally
the
can't do anything
briefing.
without
Prompts.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what's on the agenda? What have we got?
I've just done that.
Yeah, no. I mean, number one. Let's go straight in. I feel.
Oh, you want to go in heavy?
Yeah, I want to go in heavy because it's a food special.
You keep reminding me. I haven't got it written anywhere. Let's go into that. Let's just do the whole thing in reverse.
Okay, let's just hit the big time. Okay,
food's an interesting one.
Okay,
You've got me thinking differently about food.
Okay, sure.
You have. I think the calorie deficit thing is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably going to be touching on that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You send me lots of stuff, and we talk about lots of things, and you point me to lots of sources and debunking food myths and stuff. And I don't know. I think that kind of my relationship with food has, I think, changed for the better because of that. Because I think 5 years ago I had a stomach thing and spent a lot of time going to nutritionists and all sorts, and nothing ever seemed to work. But then you come back to some of the simpler things, like even just quantities of how much you're eating, and certainly the calorie thing, which has been interesting, and also the things that people tell you should eat. Yeah, broadly they are, for maybe a wider amount of people, that is good, but some of the good things aren't always good for individuals. Like fibre is generally a good thing, but that'd be quite damaging in certain ways for me and other things. So, and there's some things that just don't agree with me. Although they're good, it's like they're not. And you've got to find out the hard way, I think, is for anyone who's had stomach related food problems, then they'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I think you using the word good there is this, and I'm not a nutritionist. An interesting one. I did my PT qualification a few years ago. It was very much like, you're not a nutritionist. Don't sell yourself as that. It was even like, don't give nutritional advice. And I'm thinking, that's ridiculous, because there's people out there who have qualifications giving advice that is wrong, or wrong in my view. Or there's people with agendas to push certain foodstuffs or certain products. And so, for example, one of the big things on Instagram that myself and a number of other PTs, a couple of our reference, James Smith is a key one, we'll do a link to him. Things like skinny coffee, which has been sold. Basically, skinny coffee is a laxative. In fact, it's two laxatives, one to move certain things in the day and one to move certain things at night, and you lose loads of weight because water is rushing out of your body. And that's sold in Holland and Barrett, and it's just, if it should say on the front, this is a laxative. And people are buying them. Young women, a lot of young women are buying them under the pretense. And you go to Holland and Barrett, and a lot of people, that's your high street, health store, and it's just just dreadful. Right? But there's people on Instagram, promoting it, and I'm thinking, food is one of those things that shouldn't be. Well, the debunking of food is that, why aren't we taught about food properly? Why are we just taught that there's good food, bad food? Why are we, you go to the end of the aisles in any supermarket where all the offers are, and they're sugar laden. It's a lot of products are just totally promoted because, they have the backing of big industries, and it's things. One of the things, and I don't know why this makes me uneasy, but the two biggest smoothies are Innocent and Naked. And Innocent is owned by Coca-Cola, and Naked is owned by Pepsi. And it just makes me feel uneasy that you go to the smoothies. There will be one or two other smaller ones, but basically those are the two key ones. So they've bought their way into our supermarkets. They're not the only people that can make smoothies. They're not necessarily the best. But it's a monopoly, in the same way that you either have Coke or Pepsi, or you have Fanta that's made by Coke, or you have... Do you know what I mean? It's like our foods are being determined by multinational industries. There isn't actually that much choice.
Some of them probably didn't start out like that.
Innocent started out as a small thing with a couple of guys.
That's right.
But it's interesting that Coca-Cola have kept all the branding. You wouldn't know Innocent was Coca-Cola.
No, you wouldn't.
And in some ways it doesn't matter that it's Coca-Cola, but it does matter if there isn't other choices.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So I think going on the word you used with good and bad is something I just like to touch on. So I'm just going to give one the shout out, and most of my clients know this guy, and I just think he is absolutely brilliant. He's called the Fitness Chef. He's on Instagram. It's the Fitness Chef _ I think his name's Graham Tomlinson. I think he's a Scottish lad, and he just provides the most simplistic and articulate way of explaining the difference between different foods. So I'm just going to, this is quite hard because he uses photographs a lot, so I'm going to paint a picture with words. So he's put a picture up on Instagram, and one is clean, in inverted commas, and one is dirty. And so one is what he calls a wellness blogger's breakfast, and it's a typical thing that you would see someone doing. So in effect, there's a beautiful plate that has nut granola, Greek yogurt, goji berries, desiccated coconut, banana, linseed, chia seeds, and a 300 milliliter innocent Invigorate smoothie. And most people would say ticks every box. Good for you. It's a good, clean.
Look at me and my clean, healthy lifestyle.
And next to it is the chav of the food world, and he's put in inverted commas dirty. This is the forbidden breakfast: a McDonald's double bacon and egg McMuffin and a hash brown. So he's put those side by side. And in an independent survey, you ask a person which is the best, which is the right, which is the clean and the dirty, or the good and the bad. Yeah. Overwhelmingly, it'd be the first one. But bearing in mind, food, despite how it's presented, is just a product. It has a number of macros. It has protein, it has carbohydrates, it has fat. That's what it's constituted of. It has some vitamins and minerals. But in effect, whether a food is good or bad comes down to opinion. Although you could say if you eat a pound of lard, it probably isn't good for you compared with another food. Yeah. So what he's then done is break down these two, your perfect breakfast and your dirty breakfast. So the calories for the lovely blogger's breakfast is 1,059 calories. And for the McDonald's, it's 537. So half the calories. So if you're on a fat loss, if I had a client and they tell me they've had a granola with a banana and Greek yogurt and an innocent smoothie, it would actually be better for me to say, in terms of weight loss, in terms of calorie deficit, it would be better to say, go and have a McDonald's because you've saved yourself 500 calories. Sure. And then someone come back to me and say, you shouldn't be eating that shit. You should be eating good stuff. So we then look, what are the macros? What makes up the good breakfast? What makes up the bad breakfast? So the protein in the first breakfast I mentioned is 32 grams of protein. And in the second one, it's 28 grams of protein. So near enough the same amount of protein. And protein is what repairs muscles, helps to build, but predominantly repairs muscles. So fairly similar on that. In terms of carbohydrates, the first one has 154 and the second one has 41. So a massive amount of carbs. I'm not anti-carbs, not saying it's a bad thing, just reporting it. Yeah. And then when we look at fat, 35 grams of fat in the first breakfast, 29 grams of fat in the second. So in terms of calories, in terms of macros, you could actually say that the McDonald's was better for you. Yeah. Now, people aren't going to have a McDonald's every day, although someone called Jordan Syatt, who we'll also reference, did do and showed you could lose weight having a McDonald's a day. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that we will fall into this trap of seeing something and going, that's the good one. Yeah. And I think we're being, I have to say, we're being played in every but we are being played because we're being led to believe that certain foods should be valued above others, not based on fact, but based on fashion. You know, the whole butter margarine. I say to all my clients, why on earth would you have margarine? Butter is a purer, less processed, better for you. And they'll go, oh, well, it's got fat. Mm-hmm. Fat doesn't make you fat. Mm-hmm. But again, interestingly, that all the margarine says, I don't believe it's not butter. They're trying to become, so then just have butter.
Sure.
So that's my lecture over. I think it's the bit I'm trying to say is we're all falling for this bit that food is presented as almost an objective measure of this is good and this is less good.
Yeah.
And so by vilifying McDonald's, you can feel justified in having another meal.
Yeah.
And it isn't saying, like I said, eat McDonald's all the time, but it's being more aware of what's in the food that you're putting in your mouth rather than going on fashionable trends.
Yeah, sure.
And that first breakfast is 1,000 calories. That's a big percentage of what the majority of people would have in terms of their calorific intake, especially if they're on a calorie deficit.
And of course, you're not saying it's not okay to eat that. That's absolutely fine, but just certainly don't do that every day.
And so you can't have another 1,000 at lunch and another 1,000 at dinner.
And I'm sure it's delicious.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's going to cheer you up.
Yeah.
So that's all right. But we're just saying,
But be aware.
So, it's what's it's. I guess what's relevant and appropriate for what you're trying to achieve, isn't it? And we're all built differently and need different things, and because that's the other thing is the context of that.
Yeah.
If you're talking about weight loss, then it's very important. If you're talking about what's going to make you, probably most of the things are going to make you feel good, happier maybe if you're feeling a bit low and want to cheer myself up. The thing I was going to talk about was there's so many different things to look at that you hear. You see what people just might say anecdotally. If you go on social, it's just an absolute fest, isn't it, of different things. And this guy has been great because he's gone, well, here's the facts. Not going, like you just said, good or bad, don't or do. He's just have a look and take the information, which I think is really important. That people go, here is the information in a really, actually it's a really good way. The way he presents that is brilliant. And he, like he said, I think he's very open in terms of what his agenda is. He was in the copy of Men's Health as well the other day, and it was really interesting about.
I think his agenda is truth. He doesn't have any agenda.
But I guess that's kind of where I was going. Is there's lots of people who kind of spew these facts, and often you don't know where they come from. There's a little bit of them. It's almost anything we're going to touch on. Whether that's corona or pandemic or COVID tests or whatever it is. There's going to be numbers get fudged and moved around. But I think you also talked about the way things are packaged up as well. Not just about big corporations, but how things are sold to you. The 5 a day thing. These just become things, don't they? That they package and they're made easier and to understand or to give to us consumers, and we often don't ask why. Generally, there's the sentiment behind that is good to get people healthier, but like I said, that doesn't always work for everybody.
Well, without trying to knock everything, one of the things that I don't understand with the 5 a day is why fruit and vegetables are seen as interchangeable. They're two completely different products. Fruit on the general is high in fructose, and vegetables is a different. The fact that it's both plant-based, banana and broccoli aren't similar. So the 5 a day was initially going to be 8 a day. But they said we ain't going to get away with that. But the problem by lumping them in together is that if anyone's trying to follow that, it's tempting to go, I'll have an orange and apple, 2 bananas, and a spoonful of peas. It's far harder to go, I'll have cauliflower, broccoli, some swede, and they're not I don't see they're interchangeable. They're plants, but fruit and vegetables have their own specific.
But even that is hard to communicate, in a short, snappy line. From a marketing perspective. Things that we can, pardon the pun, digest. And understand quickly. It probably just comes down to ad men and women writing these things. How can we, like the stay alert and the things in threes, to make it very simple for us to understand because we're idiots, rather than going, here's all the facts laid out. Here's a good,
But it goes
back to the education.
Bit. And you mentioned calorie deficit in a minute, and especially on Instagram, and especially amongst the people I sort of follow in the PTs, calorie deficit now is understood. But one of the things we might touch on later is this government initiative around helping people with type 2 diabetes, which is reversible, full stop, it is reversible.
Yes.
But there is no education in what's being offered. A solution is being offered that is a ready-made, ready-mixed solution. Take this magic Willy Wonka powder and you will not have diabetes. But that doesn't become sustainable. We wouldn't say to our children, just eat this food. You don't have to understand where it comes from or how it's grown. Just do it because we tell you. And that's what we're doing with this thing with diabetes. It's this packet of dust when it's mixed, will help you lose weight. What it should be is, if you're in a calorie deficit, or people understanding, for example, and I've read all this stuff on the diabetes, nobody mentions what your calorie deficit has to be to lose a pound of fat, which is 2,500 calories. Once you know that, you've got something to aim for, or something to judge on how many calories you take. To say take a powder, you can't just keep taking powders for the rest of your life. That isn't what we were put on this planet to do.
Yeah.
If you educate people about understanding calorie deficit, about what you can and can't eat, but giving it to them in a packet is such a short-term solution. It can't be sustainable. And the Slimming World podcast that I mentioned, that wasn't a Slimming World podcast, one of the people said to the other, they were saying about how well they were doing at the moment, and the woman said, yes, I think this is probably the best I've done. She said, this is my 5th occasion of being at Slimming World, but I really seem to be doing well now. And that to me was very sad. It's if Slimming World is good, you wouldn't have come back again. Yeah. So this whole sustainability of diet, this whole bit around, I don't know, looking for short-term fixes instead of having education and people understanding what they're eating.
Well, it also comes back to, I kind of touched on whether, I guess, the source of where the information comes from and then how it's presented. With the government powder, that isn't the official line, it feels like a sticking plaster rather than a long-term solution. Do you know what I mean? I think you said something this week about, particularly about weight loss. Why wasn't there? What did we talk about in a couple of episodes ago? Why wasn't there money given for people to go and work with personal trainers or go to the gym whether they were closed? As you know, rather than get this one kind of miracle cure.
Well, interestingly enough, the bulging mailbag, someone did actually write in and said GPs are able to refer people to the gym. But when I looked into it further, although that is totally true, I think because of resources and because of a whole number of other reasons, like you're saying, the gym's being shut, that it isn't actively promoted. Yeah. On some occasions, someone will refer somebody if their health grounds are such that they could benefit from it. But I'm thinking we're talking about millions of people at risk of diabetes. And I just think maybe a bit more of a holistic approach. And the thing I was just going to, and this is going to be really boring for 30 seconds, but it needs to be boring to make a point.
It's like my tech rundown.
Yeah, this is replacing how to do a podcast. This is how to make magic powder. So I'm just going to read. This is Oriental chili flavour. This is one of the soups and shakes. I guess Oriental chili is probably a soup rather than a shake.
I hope it sounds gross as a shake.
So these are the ingredients on the side. So this is the powder that the government is giving to people with type 2 diabetes. And the only reason I'm going to read it is just saying, number one, does this sound like a food? And number two, if you were giving something to your child, would you not want to know what some of these things are? So the first thing is maltodextrin, which ironically I looked up and it said you've got to be very careful using this if you're at risk of diabetes. And that's the number one ingredient. But I'm sure the nutritionists are not in a position to... I'm just reporting what I read.
Sure.
So that's number one ingredient. Then soya flour, skim milk powder, milk protein, soya protein isolate, inulin, whatever that is, textured soya protein. So we've got 3 lots of soya in the first 6. Flavouring. Flavouring doesn't have to be defined where it's from.
Right.
So flavouring, I think I've given you this story before, can be from a beaver's butt. So there's a gland
I think that's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a gland by beaver's butts that makes things taste slightly of vanilla. There's true vanilla extract is quite expensive. It can be used as a flavouring, but you don't have to say that it's come from a beaver's butt. Potassium chloride, I don't know what that is, but...
It sounds like something that would blow up.
Yeah. Soya lectins, we've got our 4th lot of soya. Hydrolyzed maize protein, monocalcium phosphate, dried red peppers. So we've got down to about the 12th, and we've now got the first bit of vegetable.
I'm not feeling hungry.
Dried mushrooms, compound vitamin and mineral mixture. I get the point that they're trying to maybe put in the same way that cornflakes has added niacin and all those vitamins to try and make them. If you look on the cornflakes packet,
Yeah.
there's a lot of added thing. And I've told you the cornflakes. I'll do the Kellogg's bit in a minute.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Stabilizers, xanthan gum, whichever that is, onion powder, salt, garlic powder, tricalcium phosphate, dried coriander, black pepper, colour, allergens, contains milk, soya and wheat. That doesn't feel tasty. That doesn't feel like a sustainable food that I'm going to turn to and go, I'm just dying to have some lectin and some inulin today.
Have I got to look at what
Inulin is, yeah.
You carry on, I'll do my Damo Googles.
Okay, do your Damo Googles. I'll tell the Kellogg story. A bit
Please
of light
do.
relief. This has been a bit preachy. So, W.K. Kellogg invented cornflakes to produce basically the blandest thing he could as a breakfast cereal. So breakfast cereal never used to be a thing, and in reality it shouldn't be a thing.
Yep.
We don't need breakfast cereal. It isn't a natural thing particularly to have in the morning. Your body doesn't cry out for Cocoa Pops and Sugar Puffs. However, it might
watch
do
the
now.
inbox
Yeah.
with complaints.
So Kellogg was a very... there is a name for it, which I should have Googled, but because this is impromptu, I don't know it. But he had very strict beliefs around sax. Yeah, he hated big band sounds. Around sex and masturbation.
Okay.
And he felt they were the devil's work. And he believed that these were increasing due to the use of highly flavoured foods. So he created cornflakes to be the blandest thing possible, so that when people ate them, they wouldn't feel, they wouldn't get horny. To the point that although he got married, he never had sex with his wife, and he was an anti-masturbatory pioneer.
Sounds like a barrel of laughs.
He does, yeah. Go round to his for swingers party and cornflakes. So he made them as bland as possible. But the real damage, apart from taking away enjoyable elements of life, was that he coined the phrase breakfast the most important meal of the day. And it isn't.
He's an ad man too.
It's an ad man, and we've all believed it, and it's bollocks. It isn't any more important.
Yep.
It's just a meal that breaks a fast,
Yeah, sure.
and it doesn't have to be sugary or bland. But breakfast being the best meal of the day, or the most important meal of the day, is what Kellogg said to sell cornflakes, and that was in the 1890s or whatever, and we're still believing it 100 plus years later.
That's right.
And people still quote that. Well, you mustn't have your breakfast. You can't go out without your breakfast.
Yeah. Hopefully you got a buzz out of making money and not having orgasms.
Yeah. I bet he did.
It's always the people who say that
Yeah.
are the worst at it, aren't they? But it was...
I bet he was there with a bowl full of Cheerios every night.
Oh, yeah. Mine
Fruit
boggles.
Loops.
Right, deviant.
Yeah. Just a little reference for our Texan viewer. Not viewer, listener. Lucky Charms. That's what I was thinking, not Fruit
Okay,
Loops.
right, yeah.
Yeah, Lucky Charms.
There's a lot of stuff on food. I mean, it's a food special,
Yeah.
as you keep reminding me.
Well, we've done cornflakes.
Yeah.
Where are we going to go next with food? Or maybe we've done enough on food because we've hit the...
That's a lot of food. I
Yeah.
think I didn't even hit the timer, so...
Oh, I don't know the time anyway.
No.
We have got more on a running order, though.
We have. You're absolutely right.
This is where you played the food special klaxon and we'd move on.
Yeah, the music. Yeah, that I haven't got. Well, because we're doing it in reverse, I was going to talk about imposter syndrome, but I don't think I can after that,
Okay.
in all honesty.
W.K. Kellogg
I think I think there's a lot in there to digest. And actually, I did Google something, didn't I? Which was inulin. Inulin is not digested or absorbed in the stomach. It goes to the bowels where bacteria are able to use it to grow. It supports the growth of a special kind of bacteria that are associated with improving bowel function and general health. Inulin decreases the body's ability to make certain kinds of fats. So does this feel like, let's put in all the stuff that does all the stuff we want things to do to your body?
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
I mean, imagine if you went through, they've probably ticked all the boxes, haven't they? In terms of individually what those ingredients might do.
Can we do potassium chloride very quickly? This is great. I was going to say great radio, Googling as we...
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with preparing this before.
Well, we didn't know this was going to be a food special. It's just...
No, I mean,
it's
potassium chloride powder.
Potassium chloride, yeah. I think it's mainly because we've had so many requests for a food special.
Oh, hey, this might be a thing. We might be able to unlock something. Potassium chloride is used to prevent or to treat low blood levels of potassium. guess if you put potassium in, it's going to
raise potassium. Yeah, that's fair
if you've got
enough.
loads of it, you're going to have a bit more of it, I guess. They can be low as a result of disease or from taking certain medicines.
Okay, that makes sense. Potassium is an important trace, a mineral, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
like I said, I guess they're all things that we need. Not that you can't get them from anywhere else. It's just let's put everything in.
But the things that people might actually be getting through proper food anyway.
Well, they run the risk of going, well, I've been on this thing, but I'm now lacking in all these other things. So maybe they just have to chuck them into. I don't know. Maybe it's all just arse covering.
It does feel a bit like a Willy Wonka magic powder, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's like every little thing, which is probably why it is a scientific thing, and it probably does tick all the boxes, but it isn't why we were put on this earth.
No, very true. I think, like you said the other day, you said none of this sounds like food.
No. That was the other thing, just going back. I think if you can put a link to the it's Worldometer, isn't it? The one that I sent through to you.
I was going to... that's kind of on the list to talk about at some point because I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can, the bit that you've clicked on then around the population would be interesting to look at more details, but the bit around in terms of food was that the number of undernourished people in the world compared with the number of obese people is almost becoming equal now.
Yeah.
And you almost think in a very naive way, it's almost like, well, if everyone buddies up, do you know what I mean? If we just divide the food between the two people, the problem's solved. And I know I'm being ridiculous, but it does seem that we've got something particularly wrong, that people can be eating the amount that is actually going to be unhealthy for them, where on the other side of the ocean there's people... and I know this isn't rocket science, I'm not trying to be deep and meaningful, but it's just when you see the figures, it just feels there must be a better solution to this.
I've lost track of time, but we're going to have to wrap it up.
I think we are. I think we're probably running over.
Yeah. Okay. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for getting this far. All links and references to what we've talked about, which is going to be a lot of links and references this week. I haven't even scribbled them. I'm going to have to listen back and put them all in. They'll all be in our show notes. So please give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Don't worry about Facebook. No, I started and I just thought, no, it's awful, isn't it?
I always want to have a shower after I've used Facebook. Is that
I don't want to know.
No.
I don't want to know.
Okay.
I mean, Twitter, like you said, Twitter's sewage, isn't it? So I don't know. I don't know where we're going to be playing, but anyway, just find us on the username at I'mFinecast. In the next episode, we've kind of touched on this, our mad world in numbers. Mm-hmm. So that's still in.
Numbers, definitely. Ranking.
Yes. Your favourite pastime, ranking. You're a good ranker.
Don't tell Kellogg.
And also we'll try and get the imposter syndrome stuff. But that's it. Thanks. Catch you on Sunday.